Okay, how are you guys holding up? Are you good? Okay, good. We are going to continue to talk about news criticisms, and one of the biggest news criticisms I think that people don't realize is that a lot of news photos are doctored. And here's how I feel about it. And I'm curious to hear on Monday what you all think. And yes, I will be there on Monday. I miss you all. Um, if I'm seeing an ad for tooth whitener or weight loss, I get it. In my mind, in my little lizard brain, I know that they have um, whitened the teeth or photoshopped some of the thigh away to help sell the product, right? I get it. I get it. I do have an ethical problem though when news photos are doctored because news organizations typically, right, our perception is that they give us truth. And in many cases, that truth is altered in some way. I don't necessarily think that it's like a sinister motivation or even a biased motivation, but I want you all to be aware that, I mean, you know how great Photoshop is. Hell, you guys do it yourselves. I want you all to be aware that this does take place on news programs and in news publications, and I want you to be aware of it. And I start with this photo because this is, I think, the greatest Photoshop example ever. Because if you didn't know these two little noggins here, you'd think the photo was legit, right? I love it. Love it. Okay. Do you all think it's acceptable for news organizations to Photoshop news photos? At what point is it okay to alter or manipulate a photo to make it more compelling? I mean, we do that, right? In 204, right, Tom? Don't we try to think about camera angles and ways to film something that makes it the most attractive and the most compelling? Does digitally doctoring a photo cross a line, or is it just more types of embellishment? I want to hear what you all think. Okay, so here's a photo that was on the front page of the Los Angeles Times in Iraq. And I realize that this is an old example, but it's such a good one. It's such a good one. Now, as you look at this photo, I want you to think about who's in control here? What message is being sent by this photo? All right, you with me? Now, I'm going to show you the two originals. And this photo was a composite made by these two. And Tom, maybe you can help here because I want to know what's wrong with either one of these. Why not just use one of these photos that actually did happen instead of merging them to create this one? That's the question. What was the motivation here? Turns out that once the photographer came out and admitted that the photo had been doctored, he lost his job with the Los Angeles Times. But that was 12 years ago. So we're a little more forgiving now. This is a picture of Condoleezza Rice that appeared on the USA Today. Look at those eyes, right? Here's the original. And here they are side by side. Why would USA Today make her look like a lizard? Right? They changed her pupils to triangles. And, regardless of what your politics are, Dr. Rice is a very brilliant, accomplished black woman. Why mess with her eyes? On the front page of USA Today. Now, these are photos from Reuters news agency. Now, Reuters is kind of the European version of the Associated Press. Okay. And these are photos from Beirut, Lebanon after an Israeli airstrike. What do you notice? Yeah. Minnie Mouse over here is suspiciously clean. Look how clean that teddy bear is. Mickey's kind of dirty, but he's just in the middle of the road. Okay. Um, there are critics, Reuters has never admitted this, but there are critics who claim that these props have been intentionally placed in these photos to create sympathy for um, the people who live in Beirut. And I was kind of under the impression that news' job was to tell the news, not to create sympathy for one side or the other. I mean, a lot of photographs create sympathy, honestly. You don't need to mess with them. But here it's so obvious, right? And if you insert a child's toy, then your mind thinks, oh, there's kids. Okay, there's an emotional tug there. All right, here's a little boy that's asleep in Syria. Where is he sleeping? Who's he sleeping in between? What's your guess? Right. We look at this photo and we think, oh my God, that orphan, he's sleeping in between the graves of his parents. Ah. Yeah, except he wasn't. He was placed there by the photographer. Is this unethical? I mean, he's not lying. Nobody says, look, he's sleeping in between the graves of his parents. It's just a picture of a kid sleeping. But our brain fills in the rest, right? And creates sympathy for what's going on there. But in reality, it's just a picture of a kid. Now, you all know who this is. George Zimmerman, right? The images paint a very different picture of him. And depending on which images a news organization would use, it lets you know how they feel about George Zimmerman. Same with Trayvon, right? None of these pictures, like these pictures of Trayvon or the pictures of George Zimmerman, none of them are a lie. But which photo you choose to show in your news organization gives your bias away, right? Okay, so that example isn't necessarily photoshopped, but this one is. And photoshopping, even though it wasn't called photoshopping then, has been around forever. Because here's Mussolini, right? The dictator of Italy during World War II. He looks kind of tough, doesn't he? Look kind of badass there. Yeah, it's because the little handler was taken out of the picture. Let me see if you can. I'm worried you might not be able to see him because of my little recording. There we go. Okay, can you see him? So here's Mussolini looking awesome and strong and fierce, and here he is looking like he's at a kid's birthday party on a pony ride. So you take that guy out and suddenly then you look fierce. So photo doctoring has been around forever. Adolf Hitler used to cut out people out of photos after he had disagreements with them. Like they never existed. Just poof, just disappeared. Okay, here's a great example. And this actually never happened, okay? But it's such a great example I want to show you. And of course, I'm going to move my head again. All right. Imagine the picture on the left being shown by Al Jazeera, which is the CNN of the Mideast, right? And it makes that American soldier look very hostile. CNN might show the other side of the photo because it makes the American soldier look very humanitarian. But here's the original. So news photos don't necessarily have to be photoshopped in order to be doctored. They can be cropped. So you could crop this photo here different ways to make American soldiers look different. See how that works? And I think it would be really, I just thought of an awesome extra credit idea. Oh, I'm excited. There will be extra credit. Okay, hang on. I'm moving myself again. All right, so this was a tweet I saw, this is last semester, so about 6 months ago. Here's little Marwan. And underneath the tweet, it said, he's crossing the desert alone after being separated from family. Okay, so you're like, oh my God, Marwan, Syria, it's terrible. But no, Marwan was really okay. He was in this, well, not that he was okay, but you get my idea. He was in this huge group of people. But you can present a part of the reality and make it look however you want. Okay, this is a really compelling image, isn't it? So is it wrong that they didn't include that Marwan was actually a huge part of this group? I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I'm saying you got to have your internal bullshit detectors going on all the time. All the time. All right, let's talk about polls. Are they news? Because they're always in the news. I hate polls. When a pollster calls our house, oh, I have sport with them. Okay. You know what? I'm going to stop this video here and we're going to do another one because I want to spend a lot of time on polls, okay? All right. See you in just a minute.